ప్రేమ స్వరూపులారా, విద్యార్థులారా, who am I.
Welcome to InSAIde Scoop, a podcast that brings you practical servings of Swami's sweetest teachings. Joining me today is Brother Vishwar from Singapore. Vish is a psychology student serving in the SSIU Singapore media team, and what's most impressive is that Vish has authored 3 books on Swami at the age of 13, 14 and 15, and they're also available in the Prashanti bookshop. How cool! Hi Vish, Sairam, thank you for being here.
Sairam, Meera, thank you for having me.
Vish, I just want to start by saying that today's topic is pretty deep, and I think you're the best person to speak about this topic because you've even written a book about the inner connection, right?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to start by asking you, what is Maya exactly? Because it seems like a really abstract concept.
Yeah, I think, from what we have been shown or what we read online, it's like super abstract and whatnot. But I think it is pretty simple. Okay, so let's go by its definition, right?
Yeah.
So if you say Maya in Sanskrit, Maya means dream or illusion.
Right.
And if you go by what Swami himself has said, in one of his discourses, Swami mentioned that Maya simply is to consider a non-existing thing as existing.
Right.
So when you look at Maya, it's basically like the closest thing to realizing yourself, and, as we talk, you will get the idea why I say this, right?
Right.
And, we're often told that, the world is an illusion, birth and death, they're like mere illusions, and, all that, you feel, you experience and whatnot, they're all illusions and dreams and, and it's very complicated. It sounds super complicated, right? But, actually it's not, because maybe what we need, I guess, maybe I could throw in some scenarios to give you context as to what Maya is, so what it's like. So Swami actually shared this scenario, or this example actually. Swami shared that, if God is like an object, Maya is like the mirror, right? And the universe that we see is God's reflection. So when you remove that mirror, which is Maya, the Maya is gone, and the universe, which is his reflection, obviously is gone as well. So what's left is God. You somehow get that idea? Yeah. So, okay. Or if not, something very, very simple, we go to sleep at night and, we get a dream, right? And, say it's a nightmare. And, when we have nightmares, it's like, oh my God, when something is coming, you feel like it's super real, right?
Yeah.
Until you wake up and then you're like, oh, thank God, it's just all a dream, nothing more. So same as just as that, the world is all that we experience from day to day is actually a dream. And that is the Maya. And when we wake up, or, in better terms, when we actually realize our true selves, then we realize that actually it has all been a dream. So, and, 2 long-standing devotees of Swami, Johnima and Karasu Winterkid of the music band Lightstorm. So these people actually are the founding members of one of the first Sri Sathya Sai centers in America, and they had a lot of physical proximity with Swami since the 1970s. So they had actually performed this song, a particular song on Maya. They called it Maya Step Aside. So they performed this in Swami's physical presence, and Swami was very pleased with the song because it really captured the essence of Maya. So I'll share with you a couple of the lyrics, just to give you an idea.
Yes,
so it goes like this, it says, "Can't you see the truth behind this world illusion? Separation is a lie. Maya is the cause of this immense confusion. So watch her walk on by. Maya, step aside. Attachment and desire are the trap of this illusion. It's time to fight for truth and love. Stop clinging to this momentary sense delusion. Turn your desires to love. Lifetime after lifetime, and from body to body, Maya keeps playing her game. This constant up and down of emotion and ego mostly ends up in pain. Maya, step aside. We are one heart, one love, one all. Forever one heart, one love, one all." Beautiful, right?
Beautiful, Vish, but honestly, I wish you had rapped it or sung it because you have such a great voice. But the words were powerful and seems to have captured the concept of Maya very well. But honestly, this is all still so deep for me. So I need you to explain to me why Swami says that all that you've just mentioned is an illusion, this world is an illusion, etc. Please.
Okay, I'll try my best. I'll really try my best. So very simply put, let's go by what Swami has said, right? So he says that he separated himself from himself to love himself.
Right.
So then let's ask ourselves, right? Who are we really, right? When this entire creation, Swami says, it's all an illusion, then is there really a Nira? Is there a Vishwar? Or actually is there even a Sri Satya Sai Baba, right? So, going along this context, Adi Shankara, he had actually declared this particular two verses. He had declared Brahma Satyam Jagat Mityam and Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat. All big terms, I understand. It's really big stuff, but simply means that only the divine is the truth and the world is an illusion or false, and that the whole world is permeated by God. What we spoke of earlier, the example which I mentioned of how God is the object, Maya is the mirror, the world is the reflection. So, the whole reality that we think is actually simply a reflection based off illusion.
Right.
So this actually, I just infer that Swami means that the truth is far more permanent and true, just as how truth should be, right? It's permanent and true. So that is what truth is. So, I was reading this article and, Swami had actually shared with the devotee that, to him, the whole Jagat or the whole world is false and that all that we experience is actually an illusion. So I guess today all our job is to just decode that,
Right. Okay, it actually does make sense because it explains why, as people of this world, we have such polarized views about everything. I mean, for example, politics. You could be a Trump supporter or a Biden supporter. Even colors, for example, me and my husband will see the same color and label it as two different colors. Although, we're our experience of the world is very different, right? Even though objectively it looks the same. For example, dogs see black and white, and some insects perceive sound differently to us. So maybe there's this whole world of sounds and smells that we cannot experience because of our physical limitations of our species. So actually what you're saying makes sense because there's no objective world. There's only our individual experience of the world, and that is the Maya, right? Because there's no one reality. Is that what you're trying to say, Vish?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great. So let's categorize this then. What are some elements of our human experience that's real, and what are some elements that's unreal?
Okay, so to give you a very abstract answer, it's just really it. Non-duality is real and duality is unreal. Do you understand?
Oh my God, Vish.
I actually don't.
Okay.
But I think we can make it simpler for ourselves, right? So, in a very simple sense, in duality, we identify various forms, various names, and then, we think, we feel, we imagine everything as separate from us. But when it comes to non-duality, right, it's the exact opposite. You see everything and everyone as one. Everything originates from that single spark, and all are one and the same. So you'll realize that actually there is no difference between anyone, everyone, and everything. Right? So, speaking of this, actually just reminds me of this dream of Swami I had not long ago. In the dream, it was like I was in Parthi and, it seemed to be like a very big festival day. And I was waiting for Swami near the veranda, and he came out from the interview room and he was standing on the veranda with the help of two boys. And then I go up to Swami and I tell him that, Swami, I'm going home. And I asked, if I could go to the interview room to get a Vibhuti Prasadam before I head off.
Right.
Swami, then he looks at me and he says, no, I'm standing right here. So stupid me again, asks, Swami, can I go in? and take that from the interview room. Again, I ask him. Then Swami again says no. And then he says, why do you want to go in? I'm standing right here. So, now to think of it, I mean, it's such a good reminder, right? That, we run around seeking everything outside of us, actually, right? Everything is actually within us. Just as how, there was actually no difference between Prasadam and Swami. So in truth, there is no difference at all in this entire creation. So that is what is real. Right. But, even trying to decipher what is real, like, trying to see what is real and what is not real, that is also an illusion. So, it's easier for ourselves. Maybe we should not, get so caught up in trying to identify so much, and we should just simply flow, with, what we know, and, make it very simple for ourselves. So, when we simply put it, all that we experience on a day-to-day basis is unreal. Right? So what is true is that, we are all one, we are all the same, and that's all.
Right.
But, this does not mean that because we think that, all is the same, all are one, and this is all an illusion, we just give up all our duties and we just sit doing nothing. Right? Because that's so convenient, right? I mean, to be very honest, when I started off, I also thought the same way. Like, hey, if this whole thing is an illusion, and if it's all unreal, why must I go and study? Why must I get a job and this and that, right?
Right.
Very natural. But, I then remember that actually we chose to incarnate for a reason, to learn some lessons and to grow and find our first to realize our true perfect self. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm still confused. So is the body real?
Neera, what do you think?
I'm guessing from everything that you've said above that it's not, but I'm keen to understand why.
Okay, yeah, you're right, it's not. So, right, Swami tells us that the body is a water bubble and the mind is a mad monkey. And then he goes to say, don't follow the body, don't follow the mind, follow the Atma, which is the conscience, right? So this water bubble, which is the body, it's someday it's going to die, right? It's bound to perish. It's born, and then after some years, it will die and decompose.
Yeah.
So that's its nature, right? Just like how this body that assumes the name Vishwar was born some 22 years ago, and in some time it will die and perish. So how can it be real, right? Because don't we realize that, something that is real, it should be permanent and eternal.
Yeah, right? And it's always changing, right? Our body is changing all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. So how is that real then?
Yeah.
One day this will be like this, next day it will be something else. And then finally it's gone.
Right.
So the body, along with, its whole five senses, and the mind, the whole thing is an illusion.
Right.
So, the body with its vasanas or tendencies, we use that to go forward in our journey towards ourselves.
Right.
So you can say that the body is like, it's like a garment used to help us.
Right.
So we are not the body, we are beyond that.
Right.
Yes.
And what about our emotions? They're obviously not real, but can you explain a little bit more about that?
Emotions, yeah. The problem, I think we people, we get so caught up with it, and say someone tells us something harsh, or maybe say we made a mistake at work or something, right? And we get super upset, we get so hurt, and like, oh my God, how can this happen? We just drown in that sadness, and we're super upset and hurt or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We, I think in the whole thing, we, of course, since we're so absorbed in it, we forget to realize that everything we experience has a unique lesson that we chose to learn and experience in this journey, right? So, as we speak of this, I'm reminded of this incident where Swami actually walked into the interview room once in Prashantinilayam, and he said, I don't know why you humans beat yourself up with emotions like guilt, anger, or regret. They are supposed to act like signposts saying, hey, you're on the wrong path. That's it. They were never meant for us to hold on to them for long. So these emotions are also just like that. They're temporary. They guide you towards your direction, and that's it. So they're not the real or the final destination, or, they're not real. They're just guideposts, at best.
Right.
So, to answer your question, no, emotions are also not real.
That's very helpful, Vish. So we've kind of eliminated what's unreal. And it reminds me of an incident that happened in partly during the Faith Lift Zone 4 conference in 2019. So Ame Deshpande, Swami student, you know him, right? Was giving a talk, and he asked the audience, can somebody tell me who are you? Okay. And then he picked on one boy in the audience, and so he stood up and he said, I'm Shanmugam, sir. And then Swami said, that's your name, yaar, who are you? And then he proceeded to give more labels. He said, I'm son of so and so, I'm a doctor, I'm I all these things. And then Ame goes on to say, okay, you're giving me more and more labels, but who are you really? Okay. So, and that made me start reflecting, because I don't have an answer yet as to who I am. I know who I am not, but who am I, right? If we are not all these things, who are we?
Okay, so, Swami actually has, he's always told us about this in every discourse, right? I'm sure you've seen that video where Swami, he says, who am I? Who am I? Who are you? Who are you? He asks the question, right? So, who really are we, right? Through what we just spoke, Swami tells us that, we're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not the ego, we're not our emotions, we're not the senses, nor the intellect, right? So then who are we, right? So drum roll, you are God yourself, right?
Right. Okay.
That's really it. Because if you go deeper, Swami says, you're the indivisible, eternal Atma. And you were never born, you never died, and you're you yourself, right? A lot to take in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know, I understand. Even for me, it's like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Swami goes on to say, right, that there's absolutely no difference between us and Swami. I'm sure, we've heard Swami say that, I'm God and so are you. The only difference is that I've realized it and you have not. Yeah. So, it's like, Swami came, so sweet of him. He came to teach us and to, bring us back to that true, perfect self of ours. So this God self that we are is true, it's perfect, and it's blemishless.
Beautiful.
The thing is, we've actually always known this truth. It's just that we forget. So like right now, our reaction to this was like, oh my God. But the thing is, we've always known this. I remember Dr. Srikant Sola, he loved to narrate this story of how a 5-year-old boy would ask his parents for time with his baby brother as he wanted to speak with him. So his parents naturally allowed it, but they were of course curious as to what a 5-year-old would have to tell a baby, right? So when they listened into the conversation, the boy was actually asking the baby, can you tell me what it is like to be God again? I'm starting to forget.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But, for us, because of our own conditioning, our own minds and whatnot, we were like, okay, what even, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's make it simpler. Okay, so let's go back to our understanding of God, right? So who is God? To you, who is God?
God is love.
Exactly. So, Swami himself also has always said, right, love is God. God is love. He is in love. So, that love that we yearn so much, right, exists right in us. And it is us, right? So we are no different whatsoever from it. And that is why Swami, you notice, right, Swami calls us Prema Swarupulara, embodiments of love. So then what is, as if we are love, then our role is to simply share love, right? That's it. So in all that we do, we just have to fill our acts with pure, unconditional love, right? So actually, speaking of this, I'm again reminded of something Swami had shared with Jodima and Kalasu of Lightstorm. He told them that, when your life on earth is done, and when you look back at your life, it really does not matter if you were the wealthiest with the most toys, or king of the world, a genius, a priest, a hardworking person, or the loneliest beggar on the street. The only thing, right? The only thing that matters is how much love you would have shared every moment of your life with all of creation. And the rest is byproduct.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So who we are is love. That's it. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
But Vish, we're God, and that expression of that godliness is through pure unconditional love, right? That's what's real in all of this Maya.
Yeah.
But Swami also wants us to play this Maya, right? He always says life is a game, play it. He wants us to do all the things that comes with the world, whether it's our careers, our studies, everything. He wants us to play the game.
Yeah.
But how do we play it and not get consumed by it? Because look at social media, it entrenches this whole concept of Maya. It creates like illusions about beauty standards, life standards. So it's getting harder and harder to keep it real, How do we connect and get consistently and get closer to connecting to our real self in all of this Maya?
Yeah, I honestly agree. I mean, in all of this, of course, it's tough. I mean, I'm definitely not there yet. It's all a journey, and but the thing is, I think what we are super lucky to have is Swami, who is actually, he's given us so many tips and so many ways, of how we could constantly remind ourselves of this truth.
Right.
So, I'm sure, those who went through the Sri Sathya Sai International Leadership Program for young adults, you would know this, what I'm going to share now, because it was covered in one of the modules of the program. So, in the discourse which Swami gave on November 23rd, 1983, Swami shared 5 affirmations that we should chant daily if we want to experience our truest selves. Are really beautiful. Let me just, quickly run them through.
Yes,
the first one is, I am God, I am no different from God. So Swami says, be conscious of this always and keep it ever in your mind. Pray that you may not fail in this spiritual exercise. The second one is, I am the Akhanda Parabrahman, which is the indivisible Supreme Absolute. This is the second truth, Swami says, to be established in the consciousness by repetition and prayer. The third one being, I am Satchit Ananda, which is being, awareness and bliss. So Swami says that divine bliss is the goal to be kept in view. The fourth one, grief and anxiety can never affect me. The last one, I am ever content, fear can never enter me. So Swami says, we should pray for this conviction to grow stronger and stronger. And, I'm sure, by hearing these 5 affirmations, it's like, oh my God, what is all this? It's so out of reach. Where am I? Where is God? And, it may feel like that, and or it may be even daunting to some of us. So what we can do actually is we can just start at the mind level first. We can just merely repeat these affirmations first, and then we slowly learn to trust them in our experience. So that's how even I started, because for me, all along, Swami has been like, God up there, and I am that devotee who submits to him. I mean, of course, that is not wrong at all. In our journey, we go through that experience as well. But, to go forward in that journey, right? You start by telling yourself mentally, and as you continuously tell yourself mentally, someday or the other, you keep telling this to yourself, the mind is bound to, come towards you and be like, hey, what exactly is this, right? Right? Yeah. So, at this juncture, I'm also reminded of what Phyllis Crystal had shared. She shared that, in one of her books, Cutting the Ties of Karma, she shared that, Swami, once told her to very sternly, Mrs. Crystal, say that I'm God. She was like horrified because, she was brought up in like the Church of England tradition. And, that such traditions, you can't say such things, right?
Right.
It's like a sacrilege.
Yeah.
So, she just said, I cannot. Yeah. But Swami did not accept that, and he was like, say it. So, she tried her best, but all that came out was just a whisper. Right. And Swami was not satisfied. He was like, say it, louder. And finally she said it, and he was so satisfied by that. Right. So to her, by insisting that way, she felt that, Swami was trying to teach her about herself. And, demonstrate to everyone else who was in that interview room the same lesson that we are God, and we finally merge, to that self, And, that's how that's how I feel it's so beautiful. That's one way, that you can start, I guess, to remind yourself of the truth.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And, another way I feel is, to really develop an inner connect with your higher self, right? So for me personally, I usually take some time every day to reconnect with the high C through the Maypole technique, which is in the Phyllis Crystal method.
Right.
It's like, you're reconnecting back to your inner side, right? So that, he resides in us. So why does he reside in us? Because he is us. He's no different from us, right? So, you seek guidance from this self, and the response comes, mainly in 4 primary ways. Either through visions or dreams, through an inner voice or any audible way, through a feeling or a sensation, or just through inner knowing. And when Swami came in my dream and told me to write about the inner connection, it really helped me, more than anything else. It helped me to deepen that connection with my inner side.
Right.
So, I honestly feel that deepening this beautiful connection with your true self is the best and most practical way forward.
Right.
To take this step towards yourself. So these are just some of the things that I try to keep myself connected. Obviously, it takes a lot of practice, I guess, and we just have to continue practicing. But I've realized that as I practice these stuff, then the journey opens up beautifully. And Swami always shows us step by step, and all we have to do is really trust and really enjoy that journey. More importantly, like what we said earlier, play Maya to Maya, because we remember that this whole thing is Maya, right? But at the same time, we play that Maya game really well. Because Swami also says, right, play the game, be happy. And, like say, sometimes, you're caught up in that Maya, and, you realize that, why am I in this Maya? Let's not, make it so like, oh my goodness, why am I caught up in the Maya? But, just make it fun and easy and just, say, oh Swami, you got me this time, but help me not to forget.
Very cute.
I learned from Dr. Shrikant Sola as well. And, it's so beautiful because that's how it should be. Because you automatically realize that everything is actually within you, and you don't need to go anywhere else to receive the answer from you for yourself, right?
Beautiful.
And let's always remember that this higher self that exists in us and in everything that's around us. It's really the highest version of ourselves. It's not so different, it's not separate, and we're all one. Let's just go with that. Let's just go with that first, that we're all one and the same, and try that, and not be too hard on ourselves. Enjoy the journey, be happy, and go at your own pace. That basically is it. And we'll realize that it's actually love and light after all.
Thank you so much, Vish. This topic is really one that needs to be experienced, because it's extremely difficult to explain in words, but you have done it so lovingly and gracefully, made it much simpler for us to wrap our head around. Thank you. Dear listeners, it's now time for some prasadam pills. Everything about this life is Maya. It's unreal. Be it our name, our body, our emotions, the roles we play, and our experiences. How can they be real when they are ever changing? Have you noticed that nothing in this life has given us lasting happiness or peace? Our ambitions, our relationships, our wealth, none of it can provide the contentment we seek. Because the only thing that is real and true is that we are God and we are one. And so this happiness we seek can only come from our union with our God. I know it feels like this world is really, really real, especially when this unreal world places so many expectations and responsibilities. But at the end of this life, Swami will not judge us by how well we played with Maya, how well we played this game. He will judge us by our intentions, our purity, and how much we tried to experience and realize our oneness with all, our efforts to realize our divinity and spread love. So pick any sadhana that any of these speakers have shared. Practice it daily for at least 5 minutes to switch off from this unreal drama and connect to what is real. Until next Friday, happy scooping!